Hello there, Sir Bucky here, and welcome to ASKA, and welcome also to my first ever YouTube video. Today I'll be making my take on a beginner's guide and helpful opening build order for your first 2 to 3 days in the game. Now it is an early access game, came out a couple of weeks ago I believe. I've been playing it pretty hardcore since then. I'm having an absolute blast in this game, and I wanted to share some of the cool things I've learned and picked up along the way with all of you. So we are going to start a new game, but we are going to use a seed I'm familiar with. That seed is Land of Bucky. And the reason for this, simply I know where the beginning resource I want is. It's pretty close to where we land, and it will just save what is the first real big thing you need to do, and that's finding the iron mine. I happen to know where it is on this seed. It's really close to the start. So if you want to use this seed too, that would be amazing. Do so, and send me pictures on your guys' settlement. I'd love to see the individual flares you give your villages compared to mine. I think that'd be a pretty neat thing to compare. So with that in mind, we're going to hit start, and I'll see you guys on the beach. Okay, here we are on the beach. The very first thing you're going to want to do is grab the 5 nearby Jotunbloods. We'll need these in sets of 5 to summon villagers. The second thing you do, and probably the most important thing you can do while on the beach, time limited, turn around, press V, and wave at the big scary monster. Bye bye. So while you're on the beach, you're going to want to keep your eye out for 3 things, 2 of which aren't super needed but nice to have. They are stick stones and fiber. Stones especially are much easier to gather on the beach, even with holding Z down or spamming C and seeing resources. Stones stand out way more than they do if you're trying to gather them on the forest floor, and they're just more common on the shore. So we're going to want 6 of those, so we have our 6. Let's grab a couple of mussels while we're here. That'll just help with the first day or so of food while we wait for this guy to come and say hi. This mob will give us, hopefully, our sticks and fibers that we need. 2 bars above the head, the red one being the health and the yellow one being the stun meter, which when depleted stuns the mob for a pretty long time, like an overpowered amount of time. Always try to deplete the stun meter. It fills up pretty quickly if you don't deplete it, but if you do, you can usually kill them before they wake up again. So we'll get this second one. Now I know that blue wisp beside us is technically your early game guide, but I think the order that I do things in is a little bit more efficient, and efficiency is key in survival crafting games, especially in the first couple of days. You're kind of at a race against many things. So grab a couple more mussels. Now I know there's a couple mobs over there, but I'm not going to go fight them, simply because where we're going is basically just north of our shipwreck. I don't want to get sidetracked by hunting too much. Now as you go into the forest, remember your gamer's ABC. Every game has an ABC, and in ASKA that ABC stands for always be collecting. In parenthesis, flax. You need a lot of flax in this early game. It's essentially why I created this guide. Flax is a huge bottleneck. I reckon it's unbalanced and will be changed in the near future, hopefully. But in the meantime, that's why I'm building this guide. So we're going to head inland. We're going to gather enough flax to get us what we need with those numbers I gave you earlier. So with those 6 stones, we're going to make 3 stone blades. Just craft as much rope as you can with the fibers you have. So a quick 10. You're not going to need fiber by itself for now, but you're just going to need all the rope in the world. So craft those, and you want to get a stone axe and a stone pickaxe. Now as you head inland and are looking for where you are going to be settling in your seeds, or if you want to join me in this seed settling where I will, the criteria you're looking for is the iron mine. There are ways of transporting goods long distances, but if you're going to look for your ideal starting location, do try to make sure you are within walking distance of an iron mine. There's 3 on a map. I personally have only ever found 1 on this one. I haven't done like a huge full map reveal, but as I said a little bit ago, we land on the beach pretty close to it, actually, closer than I've been in any other seed. I'll show you guys what it looks like, but just know the importance of the iron mine cannot be understated for your mid-late game. It's where you get iron from, it's where you're going to get your better tools and weapons produced using, so look for that. Show you what it looks like, just doing my ABCs here. Always be collecting flax. Okay, this giant rock, that when you press Z, it glows yellow, like all your other resources, but it is non-interactable. This is your iron mine. We're not going to need it right now. We won't need it for about a week or so, to be honest, but we need to settle near it. This is going to be huge importance later on. So let's head back to the clearing. Let's gather some berries since they're right here. As much flax, obviously, as we see along the way. So okay, back in the clearing. Let's take a look at what we are going to be aiming towards and the reason why I'm putting this guide together. So we want to get the farm online as soon as possible, and we want at least 2, if not 3 villages by day 3. That to me is as good a start as you can get. Now the reason we want the farm is because, as I've been saying, flax is a huge bottleneck in this game. I do believe it is undertuned, or perhaps some recipes that require it are overtuned. You'll see why as we get into this guide. It is a struggle. So if you don't focus the farm, you really do hamper yourself for the mid game. You're just always going around trying to find odd bits of fiber for the odd bits of buildings that you need to put together. But with the farm, you can grow it. You can grow flax, and if you have the farm online by day 2 or day 3, you'll be off to an amazing start, because flax does take time to grow. So it takes about 3 days, I think, to grow whatever you plant. So by day 6, you're just gonna have no more troubles with rope. And in fact, on my playthrough where I did the farm, I kind of forgot about it for a while because I had enough flax originally, and then when I went back one time, I literally had a couple thousand flax, so thousands of rope. In order to get the farm, you need the gatherer's hut. So we're just going to work backwards from the farm and figure out what we need, and then we're going to work towards it. So you need the gatherer's hut. Here for the gatherer's hut, you need the gatherer's pit, obviously the first thing, but you also need the workshop pit. Now for the workshop pit, you need the stone cutters and the wood cutters. Okay, so we need all 3 types of gathering pits. We need the workshop, and then we'll open the farm. So let's get to it, and along the way we'll just talk about why. To unlock your pits, you are going to need your campfire, which is what this wisp is telling us. And now that we have our chosen location in hand, I'm not so much going to grab the small sticks from the bushes. I will if I happen to like literally run right past one, but it is more efficient to just start chopping down your young firs and your regular firs. Just start chopping them down en masse around you. We will be doing most, if not all, of the gathering for the first 3 days, and when we have villagers, they can focus on the building. But assigning one of them to a full-time job in the early game kind of is more detrimental to your push towards the mid-game. Just because you do need like three different types of resources, and if you commit 3 workers to it, you're just getting each resource in too much of a quantity than you need, and sort of like wasting the hours that they put in, their man hours. So upgrade that to a simple fire. We need a couple more stones. Another huge tip I would say is to always get your stones from the nearby Jotun blood deposits. We do need them in sets of 5, and so we always want to be mining them whenever we can, whenever we have some time between tasks. Is you do want to be focusing on the Jotun Bloods nearby. You can get at least 2, you always get at least 2 rather, from every deposit, one at 50%, so when this reaches 150 health, we'll get one. But you can also get a bonus blood between, see there's our 150 health one. You can also get a bonus blood between 50% health and 100% health, and another bonus blood between 50% health and, you know, fully depleted. So you can get up to 4. I believe that there's a greater chance to get more blood with better tools. That might just be a result of mining them so much faster, and often it feels like you do. Like, it's an anecdotal thing. I don't know if it's actually true. Let me know, obviously, if you have the same experience. It just makes sense. Better tools, more blood. So it looks like we only got 2 from that one, which is a bit of a shame. It's always good to get 3, because then if you get 3, you only have to mine 2. We can still get 3 from the other one, but I don't find myself that lucky. So we're going to pop that together. We're going to next build our shelter. And building the shelter will unlock the ability to build the Eye of Odin, which is the first like major thing we want to build. That is what we will be using to summon our villagers with. We have 5 Jotun Bloods from the beach, so we don't necessarily need another 5 right now, but let's just keep in mind. In order to build, you need 2 things. You need your wooden hoe and your wooden hammer. The hoe requires 4 sticks, that's a lot of sticks to be honest, and 2 sharpened stone. We should have the sharpened stones, yep. And we just felled this tree, so we'll have the sticks. And remembering our ABCs, we'll just grab that flax there. Have a quick scout around. There's some over here. Let's just grab that. ABC, cannot stress enough, ABC. Right, I will put this together, and you know, if I have enough time, maybe editing Bucky will skip over these boring bits. Alright, we're just finishing off our first shelter here. This is what's going to unlock that Eye of Odin. Boom. Done. So let's get the eye up and let's start summoning our first villager ASAP as soon as we can. Battle. Pressing Q, if you don't know, is how I'm getting the resource required in the top left. Super helpful thing to press. I tend to forget easily what I'm doing. I do see some more flax here that I'm just going to grab real quick. If you are completely new to the game and you don't know about the early game flax, first of all, I envy you. Second of all, you will see pretty soon just why we need so much. Alright, it is 3 AM on day 2, and we're just putting the finishing touches on our... Oops, I did not pick that up, I just drew my weapon. We are just putting our finishing touches on the Eye of Odin. Where is that stone? Looking at the wrong thing there. Sorry about that. We're just putting our finishing touches on the eye. Right here. Now what was super cool is from our second Jotun deposit, we did get 3. So I'm going to plug 5 in here, and then we immediately have an additional 5 for our second villager. So let's go ahead and activate and see who we get. Ulfhild is somebody who will eat a lot of food but is resilient in the winter. Linnea is a feeble lodger but gets a stamina boost in the spring. Neither of these kind of like really stand out. This guy would probably be a better warrior. They might get a bonus to sort of like strength. We don't need to worry about that right now. Let's just grab. Well, let's go ahead with Ulfid. The winter is kind of like a really difficult season, so anyone who has a bonus for the winter is helpful. Things I look for are nocturnal preference. That's a really helpful thing to have, and any sort of like boosts to wood or crop production. So with that done, while we wait for our first villager, let's go ahead and build all our prerequisite buildings for the farm. Let's put our woodcutter's pit in here. Now I would say obviously put your woodcutter's pit near some wood. That makes sense. You don't really need to put your stone cutters near stone. That is because stone is not a huge resource you need in abundance. You need like 6 to 10 for your big builds, and it can store up to 9. I wouldn't go out of your way to min-max the placement of the stone, since by the time you need it, you'll be capped on the amount of stone you store, and then when you use it all, by the time you need it again, it's just not a big deal. And same for your gatherer's hut. Food is everywhere, so finding the best placement for your gatherer's hut doesn't really make a lot of sense. You can move the flags around for the gathering and the stone cutting workers. But we'll go over sort of like my favorite placement for the gatherer's hut in just a second. But right now let's just get the woodcutters online and near it build the gatherer's pit, just because it'll be next to the resources. Okay, here we are, just putting the finishing touches on our stone cutter's pit. Now the day did tick over, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, we've survived one day. Our first villager arrives in 6 minutes, which should be plenty of time to get the gatherer's hut online. Let's take a drink of water. Let's also go ahead and eat those mussels before they go bad. Food does sort of like have a health bar above it. It does tick down. When it goes bad, you'll get a stomachache, take a debuff, probably die if you're low health. Keep an eye on that. Now, like I said, there's no like hard and fast best place to put your gatherer's pit. I do like to follow a few criteria, one of which is being quite central to where your housing or your main housing is going to be, and the other is be defensible. And the reason for that is, I haven't seen one yet. You might have heard them. There's the bunny. They're really big bunnies, I think. I forget what they're smokers. Now they will occasionally come into your settlement and, you know, steal your stuff. I've seen them steal seeds, and I've seen them steal vegetables from your gatherer's hut. I've also seen them steal Jotun blood. They dropped it immediately, but yeah, they're kind of pesky. They are labeled as pests, so the reason we're putting this up here will probably not become super apparent in the first video, like I'm going to explain it, but we'll sort of like do the reason why in another video. But just to say, we can build a gate, a wall around this, like a mini fence. That's the word. Like that is a small wall is called a fence. So we're going to build a fence around it. At some point, that'll just keep them out. They will be a pain in the butt. We won't need that until we assign a gatherer to it, since we're not going to have like too much stuff in there. I do think your villagers will default gather what they happen to be near, which is why we're not going to assign somebody straight away. We also just need more builders. So let's get this online, and it'll open the workshop for us. Okay, that is our first 3 major builds done. We have our woodcutter's pit over here, our stonecutter's pit kind of just out in the distance a bit. I'll change the location of that later. There's just a lot of trees right now. And then we have our gatherer's pit, and with those built, we can build our workshop pit. Incredibly important building, allows you to build your better tools and weapons. Placement wise, the first one needs to go near your woodcutters. Make sure you have every segment green, or at least every segment buildable once you get rid of, obstructions. So the two that are red here is a tree stump and a tree itself. So that's fine. Once we get rid of those two, we will be able to build the extensions out. Just be careful with placement. Don't put it, so let me show you what I mean rather than try and explain it. So for instance, don't build it here because, let's imagine the workshop itself was green, but to the left here, these stones are non-removable no matter what you use. Like, you can't use your pickaxe, it says no tool. Your hoe is actually a super important thing. It can get rid of obstructions, but you can't use it either. So don't build extendable buildings near these things. You can build your regular buildings near them to your heart's content, make it look pretty, that's awesome. Just avoid any buildings that need extensions near them. You will regret it. Happened to me more than once. Let's continue to chop the nearby firs down. We're almost at the point where we start to, do the micromanagey building parts less, since our builder will take over that, and we'll shift our focus instead to being more of the gatherer, since we won't be assigning people. We'll do that after we have the workshop online, show you why. Obviously, it's a guide. It'd be a weird guide if I didn't show you why. Okay, workshop pit online. Coincidentally, perfect timing, we have our first villager. Let's go ahead and start summoning our second one. Let's not waste any time on that. Again, it takes 10 minutes, so the sooner you get them, the better. Now I can already see we want this. We want Hedvig. She comes with Harvest Blessing during the fall, which is also super perfect for the first year. We should be making our first harvest in the summer, so this will be online way ahead of when we need it. Now Liv here is someone potentially to make a good warrior, but also doesn't like the rain. Now I find that quite weird for a Viking to not like the rain. They are Vikings after all. So Hedvig here just is the perfect match for what we need. She also has Snow Strider. She works more efficiently in the snow. Not a huge boon, but better than a bust. So while they're being summoned, let's go ahead and, before we forget, and before she complains later today, assign her this house. In fact, while we build, always have your builders occupied in the early game. It's your ABCs. They can't collect flax unless you tell them, but they can work on projects while you busy yourself elsewhere. So we'll maintain our ABC, always be collecting flax, and we'll keep Hedvig there on always be crafting. Let's take a look at what we need next. So we need to make a large stone axe and a large stone pickaxe. We need a bit more wood for them, but we also need a lot of stone blades for them. Mine a few more Jotun bloods. Gather what we need. We're just going to leave the big boulders here now. Our builders will walk a certain distance to grab them, so let's not go out of our way to bring the big boulders back. We can only carry one at a time, and it reduces our run speed. So let's just focus on the essentials that we need. I heard the chirp of a smoker. There they are. These pesky little guys will eat all your fruit and veg. Keep an eye out for them when you have your gatherer's hut, and we'll go over it in probably the next episode, sort of like the best way to deal with them, I find, and also a hilarious way to deal with them. Go ahead and grab these. We probably need a little bit more stone. But let's go and make the stone pickaxe first. It will mine twice as fast. Now she needs rope, so let's just throw in the 2 rope. Now we're not going to give our villagers access to the rope right now. We can kind of use a building's need for rope to sort of like stymie the build speed and therefore the speed at which they use resources. But knowing that that shelter now just takes bark and stuff we have, it's fine. We can just give the rope. So now in 6 minutes when our second person arrives, we will have a home for them. And she's actually done already, so let's go ahead and put a third shelter just to keep her busy. Have a bit of a weird terrain height thing going on there, so let's try and level it out a bit. This tool is pretty powerful, but at the same time can be pretty janky, so we'll bear that in mind. Let's go ahead and make our large stone pickaxe. Perfect. Let's go back and get some more Jotun bloods, but also some more of the small stones we need. While we're heading back, let's just bring up this menu and show what we need for it and why we're doing what we're doing. So, top left you can see we need 3 logs. Logs are a step up from the long sticks that we've been getting, and you can only get those using a large axe on a fir tree. As you can see, it says fir gives logs. It gives the rest of the stuff too, which is actually kind of cool, but we need 3 logs. Fir trees give between 2 and 3 depending on their size. So we'll see how many we get from this bad boy once we fell it. And now with our bigger pickaxe that we built, and the reason for doing that is it is literally twice as effective. Like, we're now hitting for 12 to 13, and before we were hitting for like what, 5 to 6. So we have our Jotun blood, and we'll just grab the small stones, the large stones. And that's perfect timing. You see our villager arrives in 1 minute, and as soon as they arrive we'll be able to immediately summon another, which is just a really good way to approach this stage of the game. Try to always be, at least for the first couple of days, always try to be summoning someone. While we wait for them, let's build any rope that we need. Perfect. And we'll just wait, I guess, 20 seconds for them to arrive so we can immediately summon that third. And while we do so, we will need a rain collector online pretty quickly too. That will be essential, not for the rain collector itself, but it will unlock our well, which is super important. Rain collector is just a need to have. So here is our new villager, Hedvig. Now she's pretty decent actually. She came with, she'll have, let's take a look. She came with retired bowman as well, so she'll be really good at ranged combat. This person will probably just be a, what did they, oh no, they are a heavy hitter. This person will probably become a warrior in due time. So we're not going to assign Hedvig a building. Where did she go? Just because if we do, she'll probably go to sleep. And we don't want that. We want her to work through the night. And then she'll work through the next day and start complaining, but that's a later problem. This is exactly the type of perk we're looking for. The Night Shadow, they excel in the darkness, feeling a mood boost when active at night, but being kind of cranky during the day. This is kind of rare and super powerful early game. It essentially allows you to flip her work schedule from working during the daytime to working during the nighttime. And that is just an amazing way to keep your settlement ticking over. Speaking of, where is our other villager? Oh, I see, there you are. Okay, perfect. So we'll just help for a second push this along. So you can see, as you can see, she's sort of like, she's putting together the large stones, which we did leave laying around all over the place. A little time consuming, but you know, way better than just assigning one of our first villagers to the stonecutters. Then we just lose access to an entire villager permanently, or until unassigned, rather than just one of them, you know, buggering off for a minute or so every now and then. Let's go ahead and just quickly finish this off. I want her to focus on gathering hut. Perfect. Now that is up and running, let's build a well. We're going to be getting a lot more villagers soon, and the well, so these water sources, they hold 1 water, but the wells hold 50. Well, they can hold up to 50. Kind of resource intensive. We do have those resources laying around, so let's continue to help where we can. Prep for the coming farm build. So while she works on those stones, we're going to mine this. Alright, it is daytime. Both of our villagers are up. Not entirely sure what this person's doing, so let's open her trade menu and we can take the large stone from her, since she seems to be gathering small items for some reason. So we can grab that, throw that in, and finally get our gatherer's hut online. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Right, now we can build the farm, and sort of the last big bottleneck in our rope requirements. You'll see why in a second. But on this map, on this seed, you just need a lot of flat space for the farm. I will build it in this sort of like dip, this dell, mini valley, whatever you want to call it. We're going to build it down here. We'll let the workers again worry about the landscaping. Let's just get resources on hand for them. Alright, they've done the leveling. Let's take a look at what we need. And as you can see, we need 12 rope. We have 24. And I already know we still need more still. It's just how much rope you need. So again, while they build, let's just take what we've been gathering with our ABC. And continue to just help them out with keeping the resources nearby. So let's break this down and get the large stones we need and some extra Jotun shards, which we also need. Hello and welcome, Freya. Maybe I pronounced that wrong. I don't know how to pronounce those accented O's. While we have them on hand, let's trade some food with them. And the reason we're doing this is we just don't want to keep it in the gatherer's hut. The smokers are just going to eat it, take it. We're not going to have anyone paying attention or scaring them off. Boom, done. Farm online, day 3. Let's go ahead and build our field. And really the last big rope requirement. We're going to make our fields 4x4. That uses the maximum amount of slots, and as you can see it takes 16 rope and 16 sticks, so you know it takes a lot. But we have our rope on hand and we should have a lot of sticks nearby. Let's just quickly eat. We're getting hungry. And we should have a lot of sticks on hand. We just, you know, we've been chopping trees down and just leaving them. Boom. And we're done. Let's go ahead and manage our workers. I can't remember who was it Hedvig? Yes, let's go ahead and assign our harvest blessing perked up villager to the farm, and then bring up the task menu. And with the tasks we want to scroll over and select flax. It says available in this season. It's actually available all seasons. We want to put down the flax we need, and we can see the expected outcome is 341 and then 320 seeds. You do end up having way too many seeds. We want to leave repeat task on. We're just going to spam seeds, spam flax, sorry, and we're going to deposit all of our seeds in here. They do need a rake, so that's the last quick thing we need to make. We'll need some sticks for that, so let's quickly chop this tree down. You know it's a video game when you can just say, let's just quickly chop a tree down. Let's also, the person following me around is reminding me that we laid the foundations for but did not build our third shelter, so let's go ahead and do that. Otherwise she'll just continually follow me around trying to make me feel bad, and honestly it kind of works. Looks like they got our water source online too, like 50 water there. Perfect. And we have enough for the rake. Perfect part 2. So let's go ahead, give the rake to our farmer, allow them to start working, and then do a brief recap of how we got here. Alright, as you can see, our farming villager is hard at work prepping our flax field. It is, you know, we've survived 2 days, so it is day 3. It will take 3 days for the first flax harvest to, you know, come along. So it will take a while. We will need to gather flax for the next couple of days. But this, to me, is the strongest start you can have. It is just putting you in a position of strength for the, you know, the mid game as we move into the mid game. Or late early game, maybe. But okay, as the sun sets on day 3, let us recap quickly on what we did to get here. So we grabbed the resources we needed just to get us started from the beach. We found our starting location near the mine. We built our forester's pit, our stonecutter's pit, and our gatherer's pit, allowing us then to create the workshop here, which allowed us to upgrade our gatherer's pit here, which allowed us to build our farm down here. And with that, I'm going to find some berries to eat and leave this video here. The next thing we want to address would be a more sustainable food production gathering economy. But we have the groundwork in place for a really successful village. So I want to thank you guys for watching and joining me on my, again, first ever video. As the sun sets on this day, so does it set on this video. That was corny, but I felt the need to. So thanks again for joining, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Alright, cheerio.